So welcome again, everyone, to the 2021 Celeste Dream Community Gardens Seedling event. We're so happy that you could join us virtually, and we are also grateful that a number of you have your seedling kits. If you have your seedling kit nearby, can you show it in your screen so we can see how many of you have your seedling kits? Wonderful. So special thanks to our students who came up with the concept and plan to distribute seedling kits to grow our community garden members and engagement. So to get started tonight, we would like to do a brief introduction because it's a community garden, so we want to know who the community is that's gathered. So we ask that you share your name, and then the question to share is, what is your relationship with plants? So your name, what is your relationship with plants? And then you could also share your connection to the CSJ community. You know, perhaps you're a St. Kate student, perhaps you're a neighbor. So your name, your relationship with plants, and then your connection to CSJ community. And we'll start here with Erica, and then we'll just call off names. And so when we call your name, if you would just unmute yourself and then share. That would be great.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica and I'm a student at St. Kate's, and I also work as a spirituality and social justice program coordinator for Celeste Dream and the Justice Office. So that's with the food shelf, the community gardens, and my connection to plants. I think about energy and nutrition and supplying my body with healthy food when I think of plants.
Hi everyone, I'm Karina. I am one of the St. Joseph workers this year, and I'm with Celeste Dream and with the Justice Office. And I think of plants as teachers. I think they have a lot of things to teach us if we just make the space to listen and hear what they have to say. Can we hear from Stu?
Yes, hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Stu. My relationship with plants, in the last couple of years, I've started eating way better. And I've recognized that it's fresh food from the ground that is the foundation of my new diet and my feeling better and better. So it occurred to me this year that it's time to get involved in gardening. St. Kate's, oh my God, I'm an old man. I've been hearing concerts at O'Shaughnessy my whole adult life. I attended the American Craft Council craft fairs, which you younger people don't know about because they phased out a while ago, but that was a wonderful summer event for me and my family for many, many years. So I'm so glad to be part of this community. Thank you.
Barb, would you go? And then after you introduce yourself, would you select someone else to introduce themselves? And just remember to unmute before you speak.
Okay. Hi, sorry. My name is Margaret. I'm a St. Kate student, and my relationship to plants, I just get a lot of peace from being in nature, which I think a lot of people can probably relate to. I don't know, my parents both really encouraged being outside as often as possible, so I think it's just kind of rubbed off on me. I guess I'll choose Eliana.
Hi, I'm Eliana. I'm a student here at St. Kate's, and my relationship with plants is that I just love them. I've done a little bit of gardening, mostly flower gardening, and I hope to get better. especially this summer. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Clara?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Clara. I am the Food Systems Fellow at St. Kate's. So I collaborate with Hamlin and Augsburg fellows to reduce food insecurity between our campuses. And my connection to plants. Well, my favorite thing about plants is probably sharing food and the produce with others, whether that be students or St. Mary's Health Clinic patients or, just the community in general. So, and I will pass it off to Barb.
So I'm Barb. I have been with the community garden almost since the beginning. I live in the neighborhood. I have a garden in my own yard here in Highland Park. But yes, I just I love plants, I love gardening, and I especially love working with all of the new gardeners every year. So I'll pass it on to Jill.
Thanks, Barb. Hi, I'm Jill. I'm a sister of St. Joseph, and along with Jennifer, co-direct Celeste Stream. It's always a joy to be among this community of new and familiar folks around the garden. And I'm going to borrow Karina's word and say teacher. And particularly because I appreciate the resiliency that is in plants, and they can feel so tender and fragile at their beginning, but really they're pretty capable and strong and flexible, and able to take root and find their way. And even older plants, when you ignore them after a time, it's amazing how they can spring back with a little bit of wonder and care and water and sunshine. So I appreciate their resiliency. And I will invite Mary Ellen. We can't hear you, Mary Ellen. We can't see you now either. Oh, there you are.
All right. That's because I run it on two things. Well, this idea of resiliency that you just described is really like you stole my thunder almost, because that's it. Plants give me such joy because they're so, first of all, they're so fruitful. I mean, if you have a pepper and you open the pepper and all those seeds, and every single one of those seeds is a plant inside that wonderful little seed. It's like a miracle to me that it's so prolific. It's so full of life yet it's just in this tiny little seed. So that's my joy in seedlings.
Thanks. And Mary Ellen is a sister of St. Joseph too. Would you like to call on someone else, Mary Ellen?
Yeah, except I need
Would you like me to do it for you?
Bobby.
I'm going to assume that there's not any other ones, so I'm going to go. I'm Bobby Sukup. I've been with the garden for 5 years now. Let's see, connection, relationship to plants are fun. They're obviously, everybody's touched on the excitement of the growth over time, the resilience. I guess I was leaning towards a seasonality. Obviously, like tropical zones, they just have kind of their normal pathway, but our climate here is more extreme. So it's very interesting to see and learn to accept some of the big changes as they kind of progress over time. So obviously there's some things that are live here right now. And as we move towards that springtime, if there's a lot of growth in summer, the abundance of fruits and so on and so forth. And then obviously the harvesting towards the fall period and eventually the death, as you might call it. So it's interesting to see that cycle again and again and finding value with the life that it does appear. And yeah, in addition to, of course, relaxation, being out in nature and enjoying that experience and feeling like you can actually create something. So let's see. People that are on my list right now, let's go with Mark. And your last name is Tapper, it looks like.
Yeah, you said my name right. That's pretty good.
Great.
So, yeah, so Mark Tapper, and I guess my relationship with plants, I've eaten a plant-based diet for about 40 years. So it's kept me alive. Plants have kept me alive. I enjoy gardening in the summer and watching plants grow. It's always kind of magical for me to see that happen. And my connection to St. Kate's, my daughter is a student there. And so she's the one who hooked us up with this seedling planting. So thank you. And I will pick Sam. I will pick you, Sam.
Hi, yeah, I'm Sam. I'm actually a student at St. Paul Academy, so right next door to St. Kate's. And I think plants for me do something that like humans too often don't, and they work in tandem with the ecosystem and they help our planet. And so I think just fostering that beneficial relationship and building up our environment instead of kind of tearing it down with all of the other stuff that we end up doing in our lives. So I think that's just a really big piece for me and why I like working with plants. And I'll call on Beth.
Hi, my name is Beth. I'm a St. Kate's student. I'm a second year this year. And my connection to plants, I guess, would be they're kind of like a source of comfort for me because it's something I've just grown up doing with my parents. And so it kind of like brings me that comfort that I would have if I was with them. And I'll pass it to Hannah.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm also a second year student at St. Kate's. I would say that I don't have the best track record of keeping plants alive. It's not really something I am good at, but I'm really excited to try to grow some things. And this summer I'm moving into a house with a really big backyard, so I'd like to try to do some gardening once I move in. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to apply what I learned here to my future. And I will pass it on to Kat.
Hi, my name is Kat. I am a St. Kate's student. I am a senior this year, transferred last year. So relationship with plants, I would consider myself a plant mom. I've got about 10 plants in my windowsill right now. And it's just been awesome seeing them grow, and like replanting is when they get bigger. It's kind of like an achievement, just like watching them go up. And yeah, similar with Beth, it's just I grew up with the garden in my backyard. I would wake up as a kid in the morning, walk into the garden, get cherry tomatoes, just eat them straight from the garden during the summer and stuff. And it was just an amazing experience just to see things grow. And I have this is my newest addition here, is I have a string of pearls that are just starting to grow. So this is my new addition to my plant collection that is actually doubled in size since I've had it. And I got it like 2 weeks ago. So yeah. Oh. So that's my little, it's a new member of my little plant family in my windowsill. Yeah. Let's see, who has not gone? Kathy? I don't believe you've gone yet.
You say Kathy? Yes, I'm a sister of St. Joseph, and I want to thank Karina for bringing over the plants as a gift to us, the seeds and the kits. And I have gardened all my life. I have grown vegetables every year, and I love it. I like getting my hands in the dirt. So I came late because I was passing out the seed, the little kits. So I have no idea who hasn't been called. Can anybody just figure that out? Oh, so Linda Joe.
Hey, I'm Linda Jo Taylor, and I'm Sister St. Joseph, and I think I'm probably the oldest person here. And I have to tell you something that's going to be really terrible to you. I grew up not even knowing about plants hardly. We ate steak. I grew up in Texas, steak and potatoes and corn, and not much greens. So anyway, my roommates, Mary Ellen was one, and Marian Lawaji taught me a lot about gardening, but I never started doing it until about 2 years ago, when I had the most fun, exciting experience of taking the leaves off of a African violet and rerooting them, and then planting them in a little pot. So that was my first. I have a cat. He just came in. He loves to be everywhere that I am. Anyway, excuse me for digressing. I had so much fun with those African violets, and I have plants now. I have a sun porch. They're out there. So this is still new. I haven't grown tomatoes, so I'm going to have to figure out how big of a pot and stuff like that. So I'll have to call on some neighbors to help me out. Thank you. Okay, who else hasn't had a turn? Maybe you'll have to start because I can't see if you raise your hand.
I think Nancy. Nancy?
Yes.
Hi. So I'm Nancy, and my relationship with plants, I have lots of house plants because I live in an apartment, and I know that they clean the air. Last year I joined the garden because I don't have a yard to plant. And it's been years since I got to dig in the dirt, and it was a wonderful experience. So I'm back again this year, and my relationship with the CSJs is I'm a consociate candidate. And I don't know if there is anyone else. Let's see.
Well, I do think everyone has gone, and gone in the sense of having shared and introduced themselves. And Jennifer asked me if I would share a short poem from Rumi that Karina and I received the last week after finishing a 2-session series on Mary Oliver's poetry with Wisdom Ways. We reflected on the sun last week, which we are relishing in all of its lengthening and warming these days. And one of the participants sent this poem to our attention, and it seems most fitting for tonight as we anticipate getting our hands dirty a little bit in the soil and in the coming season. So from Rumi, I'll put this in the chat also so that you can see it. Feeling the moist dirt, look for the sun with holy eyes. Take a deep breath And remember, you belong here. I'll read that a second time, and as I do, take that deep breath as it invites you. Feeling the moist dirt, look for the sun with holy eyes. Take a deep breath. And remember, you belong here.
Thank you, Jill. So thank you all for belonging here on what is the beginning of the 17th growing season of Celeste Stream Community Garden. And I'm Jennifer Tashney, and as Jill mentioned, I'm co-director of Celeste Stream and work with the gardens and our food shelf. So our urban ag and food access programming. And I have the delight to work with the interns and St. Joseph worker and colleagues at St. Kate's. And I'm grateful that the refrigerator that's in this food shelf space that holds medicine just went on the down low because we can't unplug it. So it became quiet for us, so we'll take advantage of that. So welcome everyone. It's just really great that you're here and engaging in, again, the 17th growing season of Celeste Stream Community Garden. I just wanted to share briefly that my connection to plants is I'm deeply inspired by the work of the mystic Hildegard of Bingen, who shared with us the concept of viriditas, or greening power. And I just think it is true that the life energy that is in plants is the life energy that is in us. And we can learn about caring for ourselves and others as we care for plants. So tonight, we're gonna demonstrate a little planting for you so that you can plant your seedling kit with confidence. And then we're going to show you also how we plant in a larger scale way for the production growing that we do in Celeste Stream Community Garden. For those of you who are new to the garden, you know, we garden, anyone is welcome. We start the seedlings usually together. And then we care for the seedlings in our own homes. We come back in about a month and we transplant the seedlings into a larger container. So we will walk you through that, Linda and others. So we transplant the seedlings into larger containers and then we care for them indoors for about another month until we can get them out late May. And then from late May, depending on weather, we gather in late May and we get the plants in the ground. And from that date on, we gather with gardeners every Tuesday night from 5 to 7, all the way through till the first frost at the end of October. So you are all welcome to join us for the whole process, or as much of it as you can. So with your seedling kits in hand, and Sam, did you get a chance to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sam. That's enough for right now.
Okay. And Sam works at St. Kate's in the Center for Spirituality and Social Justice, which is a collaborative partner with our food shelf and urban ag work. So we're going to move right on to a demonstration, and I'm going to let Erica and Karina demonstrate the planting with your kits. So if you have your kits nearby, you can, work with them at the same time that you're seeing this demonstration, or you could do it in whatever way works best for you. We'll turn it over to Erica and Karina.
Hi, everyone. So first off, we're going to actually just show you guys how the pots that you have in your recycled containers were made. So this is called a pot maker.
Yep, we're in.
Garden supply stores. You can get it at a garden supply store. And Karina is going to demonstrate how we made those pots. So you can just take any newspaper and you'll cut it to 3.5 by 11. And then you take the pot maker and you roll up the newspaper around it.
To say that this pot maker was purchased at Johnny's Seed Supply, which is which you could get online.
And then you fold in the sides, starting with where the crease is. And then after you fold in the sides, you just put it in this forming and you squish it and it makes a pot.
Oh, we've got a pot.
Whoa.
So that's, you'll
Thanks,
all
Claire.
see that your pots were made like that. And we just wanted to show you because I think it's a really cool way to reuse newspaper that you would just throw out and recycle. And then secondly, all the containers that were used are also recycled materials that were gathered by a student on our campus. And so next we're going to do the demonstration on how to plant your little pots that you have. And if you want to join in with us, you can while we do it. So first I would take the seed or the soil in your pot and just pat it down a little bit. We want to make sure that there's still some air in there, but we want to make sure that the soil is a little firm on the top. And then you'll take a finger and insert your finger about 1 inch just to make a little hole for your seeds. And I would say if you have herbs, you can do about 3. And say you have vegetables, I would do about 2. So you'll do 3 holes for the herbs in one pot and 2 holes in the pot for vegetables. And so you'll try and just do them far apart in there so that you can fit those seeds. So Karina's putting some holes in there.
3 holes.
And then you'll take and open your little envelopes that were made, and you can just peel it open.
They're so tiny.
And then you'll put your seeds in the holes and then just cover your seeds up and put a little pressure on them so that they're covered up.
And we're doing multiple seeds just to increase our chance of success. Each of those spaces is really just sufficient for really one plant, but we're putting a few seeds in just to increase our success rate.
And then once you do that, you can take a container or a spray bottle, and you'll just want to keep these seeds moist every single day. And also in a spot that receives some sunlight. And another really important thing is that if you have some tape, you can label your recycled containers with what a seed is, because when we come back and transplant these, we're going to have a lot of seeds. So we want to have them labeled with what they are. So Karina will just label this one. Does anybody have any questions about the pot making process or the planting or labeling? I know it's hard to pick them up because some of them are so small.
Well, I'm just thinking about in keeping the soil moist as these grow. what might be best to use to water, because you don't want to put a lot of force water on it. So would it be better to kind of use a spray bottle, or what would you recommend to keep the soil moist?
We usually use a spray bottle if you have one around, but if you don't have a spray bottle, you can just use, a container and be really careful when you're watering.
Or you can put some water in the palm of your hand and just kind of sprinkle it on there with love.
But ideally a spray bottle. Any other questions?
I do. I have one. How do you, there's 3 seeds in there and they're all growing and it looks like they're getting too big to stay in that little bitty paper thing. How do you take the next level? Do you separate seeds or do you?
Good question. Good question, Linda. So the way we have it planned here is that in a month, we'll come back again for transplanting. And I think that for the month, they could handle that little amount of space, because in a month, they'll probably just be, depending on your conditions, they'll probably just be, about this big. So when we come back for transplanting, we can help you with that. And sometimes when you take that out, you might divide those roots up into 2. Sometimes if you have 3 that are healthy, it's really hard to get 3 back out of there. So sometimes we have to make choices. I know it gets really deep and philosophical really quickly, but we had to make a decision to give you more seeds, for success rate. And so, ideally you would probably just have 1 seed in here. And if you're the type of person that really just wants to grow 1 seed, you could, and you could save the other seeds and you could either bring them back to us, or, you can make your own choices. But what we would try to do is when we come back again for transplanting, we would take out the soil and we would probably divide it into 2 plants, if there's at least 2 viable plants in there. If they're herbs, they can grow together like that for their whole life. It's fine. But if they're tomato plants, they'll need to go into 2 separate pots. So it depends on the plant, and then we'll have to assess it when we see it, and one of the things, usually we get together in community and we do transplanting together and we work on those decisions together. It's kind of fun. Someone will say, I don't want to make a decision about this life. Like, what do you think? And then we'll have a conversation about it, and then we'll make a decision and figure it out. But with COVID, we're still figuring out how we're going to do transplanting in a month. It might be that we just create a way for you to bring back your pots, and then we meet like this again and we say, oh, here's Linda's. How should we do that? I don't know. We have to figure that out. Good question.
Thank you.
So how much sunlight do they need? I have grow lights, but I don't know how long I should have them under it.
Grow lights would be ideal. And if you have grow lights, you can just keep the grow lights on during the day and turn them off at night. That's what we typically do, just like mimic nature. And if you have it under grow lights, it's going to dry out really quickly, especially with that paper around it. So you're going to have to, you might even be watering it twice a day. Just keep your eye on it. And if they're under grow lights, a spray bottle typically doesn't saturate the soil. So you're going to probably want to do more of like a gentle, like just gentle drizzle for yours. And then for those of you yeah, and if you don't have grow lights, a south-facing window is best. And if you don't have a south-facing window, the sunniest spot you have, and then it's an experiment, and we'll see what happens. And there's no pressure, There's lots of factors that come into play, and so there's no judgment. People have cats, people don't have a south-facing window. There's lots of things that can happen. The seed might not be viable. I mean, there's so many factors. So don't worry about it and just do your best and we'll see what happens. But to ensure that we have enough plants to grow food in the community garden so that the community can learn together and so that we can share the food and so that we can share the food with the St. Kate's food shelf, we are gonna plant we're gonna get a number of seedlings going tonight as well. So that we'll have a good number going here And then we'll take any contributions from the community that come in, but you might tend your plant and you might decide you want to keep your plant too, and that's okay too. So we're gonna get enough seeds going here that everyone can kind of make their own decisions about their plants and that we'll still have plenty to grow. So we kind of wanted to turn the attention to show you how we do this in a kind of production growing style. And so that's the next demonstration.
Okay.
So gardeners who've been around for many years know about this process, but we start with these flats and we fill them with our potting mix. Our potting mix is, it's an organic seed starter mix called Purple Cow.
Purple Rain.
I think it's Purple Cow, and we got it at Urban Eggplant. And it's an organic mix. And I'm just gonna demonstrate when we fill these, I'm just gonna do a few rows. And this is kind of the same thing with your little cup that we filled. First we put in the dirt, but then we wanna make sure to get the air out. So we pack it down, not so that it becomes cement-like, but just so that we get out all the air bubbles. And that's really important because you want that seed to contact when you put it in there. You don't want it just to float around in air. So then we put in a little more dirt after we've and then it's ready to plant those. Kind of clean it up. So that's the process. And then we'll go through and we'll put a little hole in each of these where we're gonna put the seed. And so then we have this one all ready to go, just like a cookie show. See here? Yep.
What?
So Erica and Karina are gonna start planting some organic heirloom tomatoes. And so we'll plant about 2 rows of each of these varieties. We have the Arkansas Traveler, which is a community garden favorite because it holds up really well. It doesn't split, and it's great for moving and then like putting in the food shelf and still staying intact. And then we also have Amish Paste, which is another hardy tomato, which is great for sauces and again, great for sharing because they don't split. So 1 seed will be put in each cubicle, and then it'll be covered up with a little bit more soil, which with this big bin, we'll just kind of come back with some sprinkle over when we're done with the whole container. So we'll put 1 in each, and then we'll make sure to label that row or those rows as we go. And so we're going to do Arkansas Traveler and Amish Paste, and we're going to do some bell peppers. Some bell peppers.
There we go.
Baby mini bells. And then we're gonna do some flowers and some broccoli.
Ooh.
So we always want, because our community garden is in a really public space, we always want it to be like beautiful with flowers, beautiful with edibles, and beautiful with pollinators for the bees and all the pollinators. And I know that some of the other gardeners are starting some vegetables too. Barb, do you want to just say a word about what you're starting for the garden?
I will be starting some tomatoes, probably some more Arkansas Traveler and Amish Paste, because those are 2 of my favorites too. But I also have another favorite that doesn't work as well with the community garden. They're called Black Crim, and they do tend to split, and they're kind of funny looking, and so people don't really know what to expect, but it's a good tasting tomatoes. So that's one of my favorites. I will also be planting some peppers. I have seeds from a friend of mine, and they originally came from Italy, and it's a sweet pepper. They're kind of long and narrow shaped, and they're very, very prolific. So I'll plant some of those, and I'll plant some zinnias that are from seed that go back several years. Maybe Jennifer, you can tell where those seeds came from originally. I've kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
But, and also I'll plant marigolds because they're really easy to grow also. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Barb. And so as we're labeling, we're also putting the date. So we're putting the type. So we're putting, Amish paste, tomato, and we're putting the date, and then we're putting those labels on. Barb mentioned the zinnia seeds. So several years ago, Jill, you might have to, I don't know if you can remember, but a community member's sister grew these zinnias in her yard, and the community member brought us some of the seed like a decade ago. I can't get back all the names right now, but
I don't remember that.
okay. So these are an organic heirloom zinnia that they if you've ever seen our gardens in the summer, they're these huge, just beautiful bright zinnia flowers. So every year we save these seeds and we put them in a bag. I'll just get the bag here. We just cut the heads off in the fall, and then we store them. We dry them. We make sure they're dry, and then we store them over winter. And then what we do is we have to separate the seed from the shaft, and so we do that, and then we get those seeds out, and then we replant them each year, and then they become the big color splash in our garden. So I just kind of want to show you a little bit of this because it's kind of interesting to see. So this is these are the zinnia heads here, like dried zinnia heads, and if you break them up, if you kind of, then you get both seed and other plant parts. So then you need to separate the seed. So the seed looks like this. And someone could do a theological reflection at this point if they wanted to, but so there's the seed. Can you see that you can see the shape and the color difference of the seed there? And so this is a project that I love to do with first graders and second graders. They're very good at it. And so you're identifying, and so then we'll plant these seeds. We'll plant several rows of zinnia seed. See how that goes there? So there's plenty of seeds here that we can work with. So the three of us will just be here until about 3 a.m. separating seed from shaft. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So are there any questions or comments about the larger production seedling starting that we've just demonstrated? I can show you that to keep these moist, sometimes we wrap them with plastic wrap until they germinate and pop up. It usually takes about a week. But sometimes we use these nifty plastic lids that we reuse for multiple things. So when this is all done, when the seeds are all in and we've covered them all up and we've labeled them all, we'll put this on top. And then these will come home with me and they'll go under our grow lights until we meet together again in a month. And I'll be tending these plants every day, making sure that they're moist and keeping them under the grow lights. As Barb will be doing with her flats and as you will be doing with your kids. So we're all kind of connected, yeah. And so this might be a good point to share. I don't know, those of you who have cared for plants like this before, do you want to share any comments about like what it's like to be daily thinking about the little life that you're nurturing? Does anyone have any comments or about that process? Yes, Stu?
I have a question about whether our soil in the gardens is tested.
Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, we tested. We last tested in 2019. We took our soil test to the U of M, and so we do not have any. We don't have. We have safe lead levels, very low lead levels, which was the big concern. And then we also know where we stand as far as organics and acidity. And so we have those results, but we would like to retest this year anyway, and just kind of compare. So we're planning to retest at our Earth Day event, which is the last Saturday of April. So we will retest. In addition to like what the quality of the soil, we do inputs. We bring compost in and manure in, so that changes the soil, but we do know that we're safe as far as lead. And then those other levels, we kind of have to keep testing, test again, and then adapt our inputs accordingly.
Good, nice, thank you.
You bet.
Jennifer, I just have a comment. If you have pepper seeds, they tend to take a longer time to germinate. So don't be worried if, it may take several weeks, and they need heat. And so I have a heat mat for my peppers, but if you can find like the warmest spot in your house, it could even be by a heat register or on top of a radiator, or some people put it on top of their refrigerator because that's kind of warm. So they don't really need light in the beginning. They really need warmth more than light until they germinate. And then when they germinate, they obviously need a lot more light. But I just wanted to make that comment about peppers. Tomatoes germinate quickly, but peppers take a while, and probably some of the others too. I think if you have some of the herbs, I think they take a long time too. That's all.
Well, and I just want to comment that once the peppers sprout, I think they're beautiful. They look like whale tails. So it's like, imagine the ocean and a whale in this tiny pepper sprout.
And if people want to find more information about their particular seed and how long it'll take it to germinate, feel free to Google that so you know what to expect. So if you have a basil and a tomato, feel free to Google that plant and check germination time, so that you kind of know when you can kind of judge what's going on.
So if you've ever grown parsley, it takes forever to grow outside. So about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, I started some parsley thinking it would take about 3 weeks. I have a sunroom and I had it in the sunroom, but it's rather cool. But my parsley, I don't think you can see. Let's see if I can show it to you here. You probably can't see it, but anyhow, it is about 3 inches tall now, and it has, you can almost pick it. It has the head, but I agree, some things take a long time, but I was just shocked. This came up in 5 days. So it depends, like if you put it near heat or whatever, and And I think, yeah, you don't need light until it shows up and needs to be green. So you don't have to worry about that if you have it in a good warm place. I wish you could see my parsley because it's pretty darn tall, but I know you can't. I don't even know where my camera on this thing is.
Well, you know, Kathy, we can see it there. We could just now bring it in a little closer. Yeah, up and up.
Up.
There you go.
Oh, there it is. Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And parsley is a really easy thing to grow, and it gets a deep root. So last year when I brought in my plants, I hate to see my geraniums and things go, and I have this beautiful sunroom. I brought in the parsley, and I've had parsley all winter in this big, huge pot out in my sunroom. And it's just flourished.
I'm going to go ahead and put an email address in the chat. Please, throughout the growing season here, send us pictures of how your little plants are coming up, and we'll put them on the Food Shelf Instagram page because we'd love to be able to share that with the community.
So I'm just going to share a little bit about some working groups that we've started around the garden. We've got 3 at this point. So the first one is centered around soil health and learning how to do urban regenerative agriculture. So starting this spring, we're thinking about doing some cover crops for prevention of soil erosion, as well as input of nutrients back into the soil. So we're super excited about that. We're doing the soil testing, as you mentioned before. I wrote everything down.
Now it's covered in dirt.
There we go. And we're also doing some companion planting, which is essentially when you plant certain veggies or just plants next to each other and they have a symbiotic relationship and help each other out, which is pretty cool. So we're doing that, and then yeah, potentially some crop rotation, things like that. And then one of our other projects, we are building and implementing a hoop house as well as an accessible garden bed, so that people's participation is not limited by their physical abilities or disabilities. And then the hoop house is to extend our growing season. So we'll probably start building that pretty soon here and hopefully have an unveiling around Earth Day. So, and then the final project that we've got going on is anti-racist gardening and intentionally implementing anti-racist practices within our gardening. So we are looking at land acknowledgement statements and building a wooden sign to put in the front garden, as well as creating some reflective opening prayers to begin our gardening sessions with, so that we can ground ourselves in the ancestral history of the land and pay our respects that way. And yeah, that's where we're at right now. So all of these groups are open if anyone is interested in participating in any way, or if you have any ideas, comments, feedback, etc. We're super open to having people join us in whatever way they are able to. So. Any questions? Yeah, if there are any questions, now is also a good time.
Okay, they're speechless. Do you want to share the secret?
My hands are very dirty. We wanted to tie the work we do with gardening to the St. Mary's Health Clinics, which is sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph and gives clinics and med distribution to individuals that do not have health insurance. So many patients were surveyed and they said that they have enough food but not enough produce, and that we have got some of our produce to the St. Mary's clients, and we're actually hoping to invite them to garden with us this summer, which is really exciting. And also, one patient said, I am grateful for St. Mary's Health Clinics and their services, as well as the St. Mary's Health Clinics food. I love the fresh bread, organic vegetables, and all the veggies they provide. And then just one other thing that I want to share with you guys that we're doing is we're serving St. Mary's clients to see what other produce and vegetables they would want coming out of our gardens. So that's a little bit about our partnership with St. Mary's and where we're hoping to go with the gardens and St. Mary's clients.
So some of you know that the St. Kate's CSJ food shelf, we mentioned, receives produce from our garden, and that food shelf also serves St. Mary's Health Clinic clients. So that's that whole piece. So that the food that we're growing and starting here goes to all of us who want it, and then it goes into the St. Kate's CSJ food shelf, which goes to students and their families, and to St. Mary's Health Clinic clients and their families. And then additionally, from our garden, we also work with the interns to aggregate produce from local gardens. So that last season, we distributed over 1,000 pounds of locally grown organic produce from the area through the food shelf, over 1,000 pounds. So we currently have a partnership with a consociate who's a member of the CSJ community, a person who aligns themselves with the mission of the community and lives it in the context of their own lives. So a consociate who lives in the neighborhood has a garden, and she basically allowed us to harvest her garden in the summer and bring the produce through the food shelf. And we also partner with the local school and grow food there for the food shelf. And then St. Kate's has their own garden beds, and we also collaborate with them and bring that produce in. So together last year it was 1,000 pounds. So yeah, so being a part of this is really being a part of something big and good. And we like to think about it as Erica and Karina and Sam, we like to think about it as like growing communities of care. Like we're just kind of figuring out, but like growing communities of care, because essentially we're just caring. We're caring right now about the little seeds that we're planting, and we're caring about the people that we teach and learn with, and then we're caring about the land that we're doing this on and with, and about the people that come to receive the food. So it's just really a project about care and community building. So we're so grateful you've been with us, and I think this is just a good point for any last questions before we go off for the night.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you for the awesome demonstrations and the continued labor of planting seeds for however long you do tonight or beyond, and to you, Barb, as you're planting seeds in your home, and to all of us. And this, isn't it amazing how we can't gather and continue to learn with each other in a caring, safe way. So just thank you.
I have to say thank you also. This has been fun.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. And stay tuned for the next gathering in April. That date is April 13th, 5 o'clock, and we'll stay connected, and we'll try to do the best to inform you about what that'll look like. And we'll look forward to seeing you again then, April 13th. Okay, have fun with your seedlings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Tastes good. And then we can do flowers. I'm getting a bunch of zinnia seeds.
I did do
Thank you, Sam. That was really helpful to have. I knew.
Oh, it's vital to have
Oh.
somebody else.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
How many rows of flowers? We've got 6 open rows here. 4, 7.
Oh,
That's 3.